How to manage money like the rich. Do you suspect that there is more you could be doing to manage your money? Are you familiar with advice like create a budget and save 10%, but do you want to do more with your money? If you want to not only survive, but thrive financially, you're in the right place because in this video, I'm going to teach you how to manage your money like the rich. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. And I'm so excited to do this video about how to manage your money like the rich, because I find that, the more money I make in my business and businesses and my investments and the more my husband makes, and we just, work together to really grow our wealth because we are very passionate about creating generational wealth for our children and our children's children. We want to have all the investment properties. I tell people all the time, no, I'm raising trust fund babies, okay? I want to create trust fund babies. I believe strongly that if you don't come from a rich family has to come from you. And so we are on an active mission in order to create that. But on our journey to learning about money, how to make money, how to invest money, how to save money, how to grow it, we both are like having our minds consistently blown at how different people at very high levels manage money from how we're commonly taught in the middle class. So I'm not saying that middle class money management advice is bad. I think it's good, and it's good to get you kind of established and get you the basics. There are a lot of people who can't even do that, unfortunately, who are spending way more than they earn. They don't know how to save money, or they're getting into silly debt, buying, I don't know, big screen TVs. Do people even do that anymore, right? Buying big screen TVs on credit or going on trips that they can't afford on credit, doing silly stuff like that. So obviously there's that advice. But if you're watching this video that tells me you're pretty savvy, right? You're interested in entrepreneurship and coaching and personal branding and monetizing your expertise, and you too are interested in growing your personal wealth, something tells me you probably already know about, saving your money, about the baby steps, you kind of know some basic financial advice. And something also tells me that you're probably doing really good at it, right? You probably got some money saved up. You don't live, beyond your means. You understand the basics of finance, but you're looking around like, how do we get ahead? And so that's definitely the place that my husband and I were at. We were doing really well with our money. We were saving, we were making it, it was all gravy, but we were like, okay, what do we do now? And so really the more I started to network with higher level people, multi-millionaires, I've been in masterminds with multi-millionaires, and they're kind of showing me the game on how this money needs to be managed. I'm like, oh, this is what people are doing, right? And so, me, if I learn something, I'm gonna share with as many people as possible because I believe in each one, teach one. And so in this video, I'm gonna give you the game on how to manage your money like the rich. All right, the first thing you need to do when it comes to managing money, and this is mildly controversial, even though I don't know why, because it's super obvious, but if you talk to rich people, they'll tell you this, you need to focus on developing a high income skill. And I say this because so much of the middle class money advice is really centered on how you can maximize your savings on the smallest amount of salary, right? If you look at a lot of financial budgeting information that's targeted to the middle class, it does not tell you how to make money. It does not tell you how to make more money. It's all about how you can cut back on lattes, how you can scrimp and save here, how you can penny pinch there. Not saying that those things are bad. Those are great ways in order to save money, but they just leave it there. And this is problematic because there's only so much that you can cut back on. While you do need to learn how to be frugal, how to cut back, how to save money as you are developing your skills and your discipline and your financial wherewithal, if you've kind of got that under control, now it's time for you to start figuring out how you can get a high income skill, because that's really gonna help you leverage, and that's really gonna help you create that exponential growth in your finance. Because the biggest growth to your finances and building generational wealth are going to come from the acquisition of income producing assets, which I'm gonna talk about in just a second. But how you get there first, you can get there faster if you find a skill that people are willing to pay you top dollar for. And I just find that not enough people are talking about this. There's too much misconception about, it's bad to want to make money. It's bad, to charge for your services. And I'm like, if you have something that is extremely valuable and there are people who are out there who are willing to pay you top dollar, you have an obligation not only to yourself, but again, your lineage, your legacy, to make the most money from it while you can, because you're not gonna be able to monetize your skills forever, right? We do get older, economies change, there's recessions, downturns, like everything isn't gonna be the way it is right now forever. So when you have the opportunity, it's so important that you maximize it. And I just find that there's not enough information online directed to the middle class about getting a high income skill. Everything is about staying in your lane, staying at your base salary, not rocking the boat, being fine with your, middle of the road job, and just saving as much as you can in that job. And there's nothing wrong with it if you love your job, if you love that lifestyle, if you want to stay there. But truth be told, I find that most middle class people are very financially insecure. They worry about losing their job all the time. It always feels like there's never enough, and there's a big scarcity mindset. And so one of the most obvious ways to get out of that again, no one teaches you, is just simply to master a high income skill. And so I have my reasons why I believe that that's actually on purpose, and I think that's actually by design. I mean, because think about it. If everybody knew their value and everybody was able to monetize a high income skill, there's a lot of corporations that would be out of business because they wouldn't be able to find anyone to work at these super low wages, right, that they're paying. So that's just something to think about. I believe that there are people out there who actually do not want you to know this information that I'm sharing with you, because then they'd have a smaller labor pool to pull from in order to run their businesses, and they'd have to pay more for that work. And by all means, we know that huge corporations don't always want to do that. So I won't get on that soapbox, but that is something to keep in mind. I also talk about this in my video about the 5 books that changed my financial life as a woman entrepreneur, particularly the book, The Secrets of Six-Figure Women, which I invite you to check out. So you can check out that video here or here, wherever it is. But the first thing you need to master when it comes to managing your money like the rich is focusing on how to develop a high income skill. Again, people have you out here thinking you could be a multi-millionaire on, making $20,000 a year. And while I've heard stories it's possible to save 100% of your income and invest it, we hear about the story about the stay-at-home mom who saved change in a cup, and when it was all said and done, she had millions and millions of dollars. It's possible to do that, but again, usually we hear those stories after the person has passed away, then they have amassed a lot of money. If you want to amass more money sooner in your life, you need to figure out how to get a high income skill. Okay, off my soapbox. Okay, the second thing you need to master when managing your money like the rich, kind of along the lines of the first point, is that you need to focus on active income before you focus on passive income. And again, this is for that same reason that I mentioned. The name of the game is to get into cash flow producing assets. But the way you do that initially is by acquiring as much income as possible. And so your active income is going to be the driver for that. And I say that because I know a lot of people search for YouTube videos, right? How to create passive income. Everybody wants to create passive income. Me too, right? I want to create passive income. In fact, I have passive income with my passive income rental properties. But guess what? I acquired those properties using cash, right? Via my high income skill. So I was able to generate profits in my business, and then I took those profits and then invested them into passive income vehicles. I find that if you focus too much on creating passive income initially, it limits the amount of passive income you can actually create later on, because you need that money while you are working. So I don't know about you, I'm in my 30s. I just think especially if you're younger, if you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, or even if you are in your 40s, we got to get out of this I don't want to work. Like, how can I lean back, relax? How can I get passive income? Like, passive income will come, but now's your working years, right? Now's the time for you to work. It is a privilege to be able to even have skill sets that people want to pay for. It is a privilege to be able to do what you love. It is a privilege to be able to monetize yourself and sell things in the marketplace. There are people who can't do those things who are wishing that they can do them. So one day you will get older and you're not going to have the energy to work at the level that you are working at now. One day the economy is going to change, and maybe the business model that you're in is no longer going to be viable, and you're going to have to change everything. So trust me, there will come a day when you're not going to be able to do all of this, right? I think about Bible verses in Proverbs that talks about this, about how, strong men aren't going to have their strength forever, right? And so how you need to prepare for a rainy day. So don't worry, the tides always turn, but while things are in your favor, we need to be focusing on creating active income, because that active income is what's going to give us the nest egg that we can then use to build something that is going to be passive in the future. All right, the third thing you need to do if you want to manage your money like the rich is that you need to invest in assets, particularly cash flow producing assets. So literally the first thing I did, I had a good pop in my business. We had a really successful launch and I had a lot of profits left over. The first thing I did was invest in a cash flow producing rental property. And I love that property because literally weeks after I bought it, it had already appreciated like 10, maybe even 20%. I know that sounds crazy, but with inflation and things that are going, I got in like right before things really took off. And so I look right now at the value of my property, the appraisal, it's already gone up 20% for what I purchased it for, which is just nuts. So I've now got some equity. Well, I have 100% equity because I paid cash for it, which is really cool. But now I have some appreciation in that asset that I bought, but also that asset cash flows for me, which is amazing. And so you want to acquire as many of these cash flow producing assets as you can in your lifetime. That is the name of the game. Again, if you are big on creating generational wealth like me, you want to leave something for your children and your children's children, get that high income skill, focus on creating that active income while you're able to. And as you get that active income, dump that active income into cash flow producing assets. And you will look up and you will be completely financially independent way faster than you ever thought possible. All right, I have more tips where that came from, but first I want to hear from you. How do you manage your money? Share in the comments below. All right, the fourth thing that you want to do if you want to manage your money like the rich, and this was a big one. I did this recently and I've learned about this and I'm like, why don't they teach this in school? Is that you want to use assets to pay for your liabilities. And I have to give a shout out to Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad and the creator of the Rich Dad Poor Dad brand, because he's been preaching this like since the 90s, since whenever the book Rich Dad Poor Dad came out, he's been preaching this. And so I knew about this intellectually because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in college, but it wasn't until recently that I've been able to see this really work for me. And so I share this as a difference between how the rich manage their money versus how the middle class manage their money, because the middle class are told to pay cash outright for the liabilities, right? So the idea is that, you work just your average income job. This one average income job is supposed to pay for all of your bills, all of your expenses, and you're still supposed to have, some left over to save. Obviously, you can see that that's very difficult to do on just an average salary, which is why I talk about the first step and how you need to focus on a high income skill. But let's say you didn't do that and you're just focused on an average earning salary. You're trying to pay all your bills and trying to save some left over. Then the middle class money gurus make you feel bad and guilty because they're like, oh, if you want a fancy car or you want to go on a expensive trip, around the world somewhere, basically you want to do something that's going to cost some serious money. You want to renovate your house or something. You need to save up the cash to do that, which again is difficult because the little money that you're making is mostly going to bills and your savings, but now you need to save extra for this one thing that you want to pay for. That is going to take forever. It's going to take such a long time, and it's not the best use of the cash that you work so hard to save up. And so what I've learned is that the rich actually don't do that. What they do is when they want something fancy, they want a liability, and it may be an expensive car or even like a jet or, something that's just like, hey, I want this. What they do is, again, they have their high income skills, they create a lot of active income, and they're investing in assets. Then they use the cash flow from the assets to pay for the liabilities. So I just did this, right? Gas prices have been going up crazy. I wanted to get a Tesla because I think Teslas are amazing. Plus I had an excuse now because, gas prices are nuts, but Tesla is a dream car, right? It's a very expensive car, but it's a dream car. I just wanted one. I wanted a Tesla, but I was not about to use my hard-earned cash to purchase the Tesla outright, even though I could have, because that would not have been the highest and best use of my money. So what did I do? Again, I took the same amount of money that I could have spent on a Tesla and I literally bought a condo, right? I bought a rental property. My rental property, as soon as we were done with the renovations, and the renovations weren't that expensive. Now the renovations I did pay for cash. So all in, I was into the condo for about the price that I would have paid for the Tesla. I was able to book it right away, like get somebody in there, and immediately they started paying me rent, and now it's cash flowing. So what do? I then use the cash flow from the condo to pay for the Tesla note. And here's the crazy thing. The Tesla note is not in my personal name, it's in my business name. And so I'll have to do business credit videos in the future because I think this is such an underrated concept that a lot of people don't talk about. We're not taught about it because we're taught that like debt is terrible and you should never use debt. If you're in business, you should probably be using some debt versus your your personal cash because you have that option to do that, right? Your business is a separate entity from you. So you can get debt in your business's name. So I got a commercial auto loan in my business's name to purchase the Tesla. And then now the notes for the Tesla are completely paid for by my cash flowing asset. So I didn't come out of pocket whatsoever. Basically, this Tesla is like free to me for all intents and purposes. And I have both the expensive car and the cash flowing asset. So as I mentioned previously, the asset has already appreciated, and I've only had it for a few months, and it, is already going up. It's also cash flowing. And when I'm done paying off the Tesla, now I have the Tesla and I still have the cash flowing property. So you see why it's not a good idea for you to use your hard-earned cash for expensive purchases if you can avoid it. Again, the rich are crafty, right? They're not using their hard-earned cash, even though they can, to buy things outright with cash. They're using their cash to pay for assets, and they're using the assets to pay for the liabilities. All right, the fifth thing you need to do if you want to manage your money like the rich, and I touched on this in the previous point, is that you need to leverage credit carefully. You would be surprised, but the rich often will leverage debt more so than even the middle class, because again, the middle class is taught like debt is terrible and you should never ever touch it. And while I agree, you should not really be using it for personal reasons. I mean, obviously we use debt to get student loans. You probably use debt to get your first mortgage. And if you don't have cash, a lot of people are using debt to buy cars. But again, if you can get that high income skill going, you could pay a lot of that stuff off. So I know once, my business started really growing and my husband started doing, very well in his job, we took a lot of the extra cash that we were making, again, from our high income skills, and we just started paying off stuff, right? And when I needed a new SUV after I had my daughter, because I was like, oh man, I got 2 babies and I had a small, sporty, cute sedan before, and I was like, oh man, now I gotta be a real soccer mom with an SUV. We went out and bought the SUV, we paid cash for it, right? So stuff like that, personal things, I don't get into personal debt. Before my business, I absolutely leverage credit for the reasons that I just explained. For example, like the Tesla and the commercial auto loan, none of this stuff is in my personal name. My assets are paying for those liabilities, but also I get amazing points and benefits from doing that. So I have a whole video all about how you can leverage business credit cards and use the travel points to travel around the world for free. My husband and I just got back from a trip to Dubai and Tel Aviv. We flew business class on Emirates, and we did this by leveraging business credit in my business and got the points and then use it to travel all over the place. So you would be surprised. The rich do use debt, and they use credit. I like to say leverage debt, right? Because they're rich, so they could pay things off at any time, but oftentimes they'll choose not to use their money. They'll choose to use the debt instead because they can typically make more on their money if they invest that money into other things, and the interest rate on the debt is not as high as what they could gain by investing that money instead. All right, so if you're really motivated after watching this video and you wanna manage your money like the rich, don't forget your first thing that you need to focus on is creating a high income skill. And if you're not sure what your high income skill should be, I invite you to join me on my free 5-day Nail Your Niche challenge. It's free for now. I can't guarantee that it's gonna be free forever because I am teaching content that I formerly had only taught my paying clients, but this is a 5 live challenge that I do. It's me actually showing up. It's not pre-recorded at all. And so you can join me in that 5-day free challenge, and you can nail your niche and determine what your high income skill is going to be. Now, even though it's free, we limit the amount of spots. So if you click the link below and you see that it's open, if it directs you to a wait list, and that means it's closed. But if you see that it's currently open, that we have another session coming up, and you see the amount of spots left and there's some spots available, go ahead and take advantage of it, because once we hit our number, we shut it down. And I do that because we have the opportunity for people to upgrade and do a VIP version of the challenge with me, where they can ask me questions directly and get direct feedback on their niche. And I wanna make sure that everyone who joins the challenge has a great experience and is gonna get the personalized attention that they need, so we limit the amount of people that can participate. So if you're interested in joining that, go ahead and click the link below or go to CourtneyLSanders.com/niche in order to join. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you want more where this came from, you wanna see the behind the scenes of how I manage my money, make sure that you are following me on Instagram. Sometimes I share my investments, I share the Tesla, I share things we're doing around the house, all the behind the scenes things. And if you want even more information, I share a lot more about my thought process and personal moves that I make on my podcast. So you can check that out at The Courtney Sanders Show on both iTunes and Spotify. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.